Hey guys, my name is Leo and today we're going to learn how to create a design system here in Flutterflow. Creating a design system is pretty important for your project, for your design, because this design system is going to help you finish your project much faster. So for example, if I'm working with a button and I'm going to use the same button over and over again through my project, I can create this button as a component, for example, to reuse this, just drag and drop, for example, in Flutterflow, the same button. In this case, instead of having to click, for example, 100 times, I'm just going to click one time, just drag and drop that button. And the same thing goes for colors and typography as well. So let's jump right into it. Once you create your own app with zero coding, join our no-code bootcamp here at our coding school. Waitlist opening soon, don't miss out. To start guys, when you create a blank page here in Flutterflow, you can either choose a pre-made template, a default template that Flutterflow gives to you, or you can create a blank page to start your project from scratch. When you create this blank page, if we guys come here in Theme Settings, this is where we are going to set everything about our design system, okay, about colors and typography in this case. Once you get inside this Theme Settings, we are going to see that even in the blank page we have a pre-made design system for us, okay, a default design system that comes with the blank theme from Flutterflow. So you have primary color, secondary color, tertiary color, alternate. We have a lot of different places to populate with different kinds of colors. You have either semantic colors for success, error, warning, info, and these kinds of things. Not always we are going to use all of those spaces of colors in our project. I even don't recommend you guys to do this. When you have a pre-made design, you are going to use a limited amount of colors to keep a well-structured design. Right? So in here we have primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay, we have the semantic colors, utility colors, which they use scales, different scales of gray, pretty much a black and pretty much a white canvas. And this is where you are going to populate. You can actually add more colors as well. What I usually recommend you guys is, if you have already finished your design, you can actually take the colors and start populating in here to apply this to your application in Flutterflow. If you don't have this, you can actually come to the build part and start creating your project, and then you can actually bring all of those colors. So for example, if I'm going to create a button in here, so let's search for button, and now I'm going to center this button. Let's give 200 as width. I think the height is okay. Let's give 15 in here as border radius. And then I decided that this is going to be my go-to button in my project. So every single page of my project, I'm going to have this same button. A blue button with 15 pixels of border radius, any simple text in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to use this blue in my button, so I can create actually a different color, for example, button color, and then I'm going to apply this color to each one of my buttons. If I want to change this color in the middle of my project, and I have already created a lot of different buttons and a lot of different pages, I don't have to change each one of them individually. I just have to take a look here in my theme settings, and for example, since my button there is set for the primary color, I'm going to change in here in the theme settings for, let's see, a red color, for example. Once I change it in here, if you guys take a look in our project, all of the things that were set for this primary color now is changed for the new color. Just to give another example for you guys, if I change this color, let me remove the primary color from here, and I'm just going to give a hex value for this button. I'm going to create a pink button here. Just like you guys can see, now we have a hex code, not a variable of color. So okay, I decided that I'm going to use this color for all of my buttons, or at least for a huge part of the buttons I'm using. I can actually copy this code, come here to theme settings, and add a brand new color in here, custom colors. I can give it the code that I just found as a good color for my button, and I can rename this color for button 1. Okay, rename. And now if I come here to my theme, I can actually change this color. Instead of using the hex code, I can actually change for my custom color, button 1. And now, for example, let's say I'm using this button over and over again. I don't have to click every single one of those buttons and change the color. I can come here to theme settings and change directly here in the color from my design system. Once I changed, if you guys take a look, all of my buttons are now set for this new color. And this is something that we can apply for everything, not only buttons, but typography as well. So I'm going to set a font family for my title, a font weight and font size for this title, which usually we call H1 or heading 1. I'm going to set this font for paragraphs. I'm going to set this font for a second title, for example. I'm going to set this font for text inside buttons, text inside cards. And then we can actually take all of this information, put it here inside of our theme settings, here in typography as well, and then we can actually change things in here or just use our pre-made font style. And to keep going in here, we have typography and icons. Just like I told you guys, here we have the primary and secondary font family. Not always you're going to use two different font families. Actually, usually you guys are going to use just one font family, but with different weights and sizes, right? But in here as well, you can see in here that the default is Intertight as primary and Inter as secondary. This is the font family that the default template from Flutterflow is using. And in here we can see that we have in display large, same bold, 64 pixels, display medium, we have 44 pixels, display small. Here we have headline, large, medium, small, title, large, medium, small, and label and body. And in here you guys can set actually the font that you desire. If you are using a different font, a custom font that you just bought for your project, you can actually come in here as well and add a different font using the TTF or OTF file from that font and import in here. You're going to be able to use this in Flutterflow as well. I'm going to talk about this typography for now. And now giving a little bit of a insight for you guys. If I have any doubts about what font should I use, if I want to use a sans serif, something like that, you can actually come to Google Fonts. Google Fonts, for me at least, is the safest place to download free fonts for a project. In here you can actually select the classification from them, the spacing, monospace, handwriting, the style of this font, and the most important thing, number of styles. In here, you don't want to use or to pick a font that just have one style. Okay, so for example, a font that just have a typography, a font weight, bold, for example. You don't want this. You want a font that you can use in multiple things. And just like I told you, you don't have to use two font families. You just have to use one font family and start mixing this font family. Coming back to Flutterflow again, for example, let me say I'm going to use Roboto as my primary font, and Roboto as well for my secondary font. Something very important as well is the color that you are going to use in here. You can set as well. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter in here what font family you are going to use, what size you are going to use. You just have to take all of this information. So, okay, all of the titles, the first titles from all of my pages, I'm going to use 44 as font size, Roboto, same bold, and that's it. And I'm going to use, for example, a title with the color black, okay? So it's very important for you to get in here and set your font in here. For example, in headline large. Okay, so I have my second title that I'm going to use in some of the pages for the title of cards, for example, an e-commerce, let's say. So I'm going to set the headline median for 28. Okay, so my title is going to be 44, and then the title from my cards, from the products at my e-commerce, I'm going to use 28. Now you're going to set all of those sizes, weights, and colors in here in your design system. And just like I told you guys, just like you guys can use the colors from your design system in here, you guys can use as well the theme text style. Just like you guys can see, we have title small, which is a font style that we have in our design system, the default design system from Flutterflow. But you can of course select custom and set all of this by yourself. But again, if you have a lot of pages created already here in Flutterflow, you don't want to take every single title of every single page and change it manually, okay? So since my buttons in here are using the title small font style, if I want to change every single text from my buttons, I'm going to select in here the theme settings, title small, which is the style that we are using for buttons in there, and I can change actually, let's say I want a smaller font, let's set for 12, and I want to use not semi-bold, let's set to medium. Once I change it in here, you guys can see that in here our text is much smaller for 12 pixels, and our font weight is actually smaller as well. So here is where you guys are going to change all of the things that you already have in your pre-made design, okay? Here on colors, primary, secondary, tertiary, alternate, and you guys can create another colors in here as well. Background color, icons color, buttons color, card background color, price color. You guys can all actually mix and create a lot of different fonts in here. You have as well the dark mode theme of your application to change accordingly to what you guys want. But actually this is the basic part from creating your design system in here. Flutterflow by itself makes creating your design system using colors and typography pretty easy. You just have to come in here and start populating these spaces with the colors that you guys desire, with the font family that you guys desire. What is really important here in Flutterflow is actually creating a design system of your UI components. So if I have a button, I'm going to create a design system to just click, drag and drop that button every time that I want to use. So that's what we are going to learn how to do now. To use as an example for you guys, you can take a look at the Amazon website or other websites as well. You guys can take a look in here that we have something in common, which is those squares with different kinds, different branches of products inside of those squares. So you have a pattern in here. You have a square, a white square with a title at the top, so shop for your home essentials, and then we have some home essentials branches in here, 4 branches to be exact, and discover more in home. We have the four images for each branch, and we have the title of those branches as well: cleaning tools, home storage, home decor, and bedding. And this is something that repeats. We have one square in here, we have another square in here, we have another square in here as well. It would be a huge work to come into the code of this website and choose each one of those squares and change the color of each one of them separately, right? But if I'm using those squares as components, I can actually just drag and drop or duplicate that one component and just change the essential things. And once I want to change those things that actually repeats in each one of them, which is the color, the font family of the text, I can actually come to this component, change this thing, and it's going to change in all of the cases that I just duplicated that same component. This way I don't have to change each one of them separately. I just have to change the component, and I'm going to see this change being replicated in all of the cases that I'm going to use this card or this button in my project. Coming back here to Flutterflow, I have this button that you guys saw before. Okay, I'm going to change some things in here. For example, let's give a border color black and border width of 4 pixels, for example. It's going to be an ugly button. I'm going to set actually for a lighter blue. I just set actually for a lighter blue. Let's give 2 as border width. And now we have this button in here. And just like I told you guys, I just defined that, okay, this button is the button that I want to use in the rest of my project, and I'm going to replicate this button over and over again. I don't want to get this button, create the button here, give the border radius, give the colors, give the border, give the text, the same characteristics that I just gave this one. It's a lot of work. So what I can do is come to this component in here, right click, and we can actually convert to component. It's this little icon that seems like a diamond. Once we convert into a component, it's going to require a name and a description if you guys want to give a description. So let's give this button actually main button, okay, from my project. Now we can create this component, and as you guys can see, we are here in another page in which we just have a little square, a little rectangle actually, and our button in the middle. So now we have our component created. If you guys come in here, we have here the option pages and components, and we have the little diamond components. If you come in here, you can see that we have our main button created in here, and you can create how many components you guys want to create. Once we created this main button in here, if for example I'm working with a whole new page for my project, let's say this is another page, I'm going to raise this button for example, and I just finished the body of my page, and I want to put a button for buy here in the bottom of my screen. I can actually come in here, click here the button to add different widgets, and just like in that different menu, I have the diamond in here of widgets, and I have this component main button. Then I can actually click this component, and you're going to see the same button in here, and I can reproduce this over and over again. I can click in here again, reproduce the same button, click here again, reproduce the same button, okay? And as you guys can see, all of those buttons are blue, right? In my main project, from my component, I can actually change the color, let's say from the border that I just gave, this button, and let's give a border, a black border, for example. Then if I come back from a home page, you guys can see that all of my buttons have now the black border. This is something that you can do for everything. You don't need to have a special widget in here, like buttons, icons, and these kinds of things. If I create a container and put 100 different layers inside of this container, I can actually right-click the container and create a component from that container. And then I can just use that component from this list. And once I change this component, it's going to change every single case, this different scenario that I just used that in my project. Just to show you guys a real life scenario, in here I have this app in which you have a lot of services, different services that this company offer in here, and then I just created actually a component called card, and then if I want to duplicate in the future one card of this one, I just have to reproduce that component in here. If I want to change the background color, the color from this icon in here, I just need to change here in my card component, okay? Once I change in here, in every single one of them there in the home page is going to change as well. This is actually an example of a real life project in which you are going to apply this technique. It's going to save a lot of time for you, and this is actually the main usability of the design system, okay? I would say that colors and UI components is the main usability. You're going to change, you're going to duplicate, you're going to reuse a lot of the UI components you are applying in your web page, in your application. So this is the most important part. Usually text is pretty simple to change if you have to change in different pages, but of course you can put in your design system this as well. This actually helps you keep a good structure and a good line of a pattern there in your design, okay? Just like I showed you guys with colors and typography, you can actually change here in the theme settings, and all of the scenarios that you are going to use, this color, this typography is going to change as well, just like the UI components in here, in the diamond icon. Once you change this component, it's going to change every single scenario that you used this in the project. So that's it. It's a pretty good thing to do with your projects, okay? It's going to help you, it's going to help your team if you're working with other people in this project. It's going to make things much more faster and things much more easier to understand for both of the sides. Right, just like I told you, this is a basic, an introduction actually for design system here in Flutterflow, but it doesn't go a long way from this, okay? If you manage to create a pattern and design system for your colors, for the typography and the UI components that you have in your pre-made design, it's going to be everything fine, okay? You're going to be able to keep a very good structure, a very good pattern in your design, in your application. When you create your own app with zero coding, join our no-code bootcamp here at Ours Coding School. Waitlist opening soon, don't miss out. That's it, subscribe to the channel, give us a like. If you have any doubts, comment here below. If you have any tip, or if you want to ask something for us to recording about Flutterflow, about design systems, you can always comment in here, and we are going to read and actually plan our next videos. Keep tuned, we are going to work with a lot of different things here in Flutterflow, not so basic, not so advanced, but always giving different insights for you guys, okay? I hope to see you guys soon, bye bye.